Good morning. We're here for the final day. It's actually only day 5 of the 7-day challenge, but I have decided to put days 4 and 5 yesterday and 5 and 6 together today because it seems like that would make sense. That will give you your weekend free and you can begin to develop your strategies on how to build out your team. So let's go back. I want to make sure that we're sure because we've always got 4 aims here. Number 1 is to educate. That's the E in EPIC. Number 2 is to plan. We want you to have a great plan to build out your team. I is to inspire you to actually do it, and C is to get you to commit to do it. So we always have 4 aims for what we're up to in length. Now, you'll remember that we've covered 5 of the 7 keys to building a winning team. The first one is to provide strong leadership. So that means working on yourself. That means looking in the mirror. That means looking in there. We covered that on day 1. We've also covered creating a common goal or a vision. Why would anyone want to come and be part of your team if you don't have a clear vision? Why would they want to show up and work hard every day? They don't. The truth is, if you don't have a good vision of where you want to go, then and what you're about and all that, they won't do it. 3, rules of the game. We've covered rules of the game, which is about creating a culture that people want to join, that people are inspired to join, that people are enrolled in, that people will recruit other people to join, will inspire your clients, your team, and your suppliers. So, and in pretty much everyone in the marketplace. And then we talked about building out an action plan. If you don't have an action plan, then the team doesn't know what to do. So an action plan is who does what by when. And then we covered supporting risk-taking. You've got to allow your team to grow. You've got to take the team and allow them to make decisions. Part of that culture is creating that belief system. So today we're going to cover the last 2. And number 6 on the 7 keys to building a winning team is 100% involvement and inclusion. 100% involvement and inclusion. So let's talk about what exactly that means. Well, here's the deal. If you as a leader don't include them, then they can't be involved. So it's up to you as the leader to include your team in decision making, to include your team in growth, to include your team in things, and then they can be involved. The buzzword is employee engagement, and in the HR circles, that's been a buzzword for 25, 30 years. But we all know that there are only about 3 out of 10 employees that are what we call fully engaged. Now, let me give you a visual on what that means. What that means is that, let's say you have a canoe with 10 people in it. Okay? That means that 2 to 3 of them are rowing in the right direction, moving the canoe forward. Okay? You've got about 5 or 6 of them, we'll call it 6, in the middle that are neither fully engaged or fully disengaged. Okay? Which means that they're kind of looking around at the birds. Maybe they have binoculars. They row sometimes. They do some work, but they're not fully engaged in the process. But here's the scary part. About 2 to 3, depending on what studies you look at, are what we call fully disengaged. And what that means is, in the boat, you've got 2 people who are actively rowing in the wrong direction or drilling holes in the boat, sabotaging things. I want you to think about that for a minute. If you could just eliminate those 2 to 3 out of 10, what would that mean for your business? And if you can get everybody fully engaged and rowing in the same direction, so you have to include them in any process that you want to do. Now, it's up to them to be involved. So you have to have a discussion like this with them, and you have to talk about it. And one of the things we do. So we have a program called Engage and Grow. It's for teams of 5 or more. And part of what we do is look is go through a process, go through a workshop. So you need to figure out with your team how to come up with the top 5 behaviors that are going to lead to success for the team. Okay? And then you need to create some measurements and some ways that some things you're going to talk about, some things you're going to do to improve the team. So what are those top 5 behaviors? And then what are the steps that it's going to take to reach your goal, and to continue to monitor how well we're doing with those behaviors. So I suggest what we call a weekly LION meeting. And LIONS it's an acronym. The L stands for last week. What did we do well last week? Okay? What are the things that happened last week? Give us a report of it. Who did you notice doing well? Who did you notice exhibiting those top 5 behaviors? Okay? Then, what are the issues? What are the issues that we need to deal with? What's going on? And so you deal with those in your weekly LION meeting. And then, now I like to do this meeting first part of the week, like Monday. Okay? Then what are some opportunities that we have moving forward? You discuss those opportunities. Sometimes you can combine issues and opportunities because a lot of times they're the same thing. You have an issue, but you also have an opportunity. Okay? And then N stands for next week or this week. What are we going to get done this week? What are our objectives? What are we looking to do? And how are we going to improve on our behaviors this week? What are some things that we can do? So a weekly team meeting to me is key to involve them and to continue to get them more engaged in the process, Now, I'm going to skip to listen next because I believe that the team needs to be heard. Okay? It doesn't mean that their ideas are always good or always right, but they need to be heard. And so part of this process, you're more of a facilitator as a leader in this weekly meeting. Because if you can get the team to buy into those behaviors, if you can get the team to buy into their goals, if you can get the team to buy into their issues and opportunities and let them come up with solutions, then they're going to handle it because they're going to be more engaged in what's going on. You become more of a facilitator. So, Alan Mulally was heavily involved in the book Icon. He's the guy who more or less saved Ford. He had a red light, green light, yellow light method of measuring projects. And he had a weekly facilitation meeting. He happened to do them on Thursdays with his key reports. And they would talk about each project that they were working on and where it stood. And they had to assign it. If it was green, everything was on time, on budget. It was going well. It was going smoothly. Didn't need any help. The yellow means it was in a cautionary situation. What we need to look at it. Who can we get some help? And red means it's full on, alarms. How do we fix this thing? Who can we get to help us pull this thing out? So it became a team effort of solving these issues and pulling them out. So I like the red light, green light, yellow light, LION format. It's kind of the same thing. Then the weekly one-to-one meeting. So you're going to have a one-to-one meeting with your direct reports. They're going to come ready to talk about their stuff so that you can have a regular, this is more about management, but if you're going to have a great team, you're going to have to manage the individuals. All right? So coming up with the top 5 behaviors, creating some routines around celebrating wins around that, having your weekly team meetings, listening, and then if you'd like to talk to us, if you've got a team of 5 or more, and you'd like to talk to us about an engage and grow process, we'd love to have a chat with you if you want us to facilitate it. Now, you can do this stuff by yourself, but if you'd like an outside help or you're just so busy doing the work of your business, then we can help with that. And we're happy to go over what engage and grow, how it works, what it works. It's no secret. It's about $1,500 per employee for the process, which takes about 12 weeks. So if you got 5 employees, it's going to be $7,500. That's for the initial process. There are some more advanced processes, but that's what it is. If you'd like to talk about how to do that, then we're happy to do it. Okay? So let's talk about consistent improvement. So part of those weekly meetings, which is number 7, how do you continuously educate? How do you continuously improve? Well, I think we've got to offer it. But the place to start, remember, we had a personal improvement plan for yourself. We need to have a personal improvement plan for everybody on your team. And part of what you will talk about in your weekly meeting is, how's it going? Because this stuff, the personal improvement, a lot of that stuff should happen outside of work. Now, that's an interesting one because people believe that they should only, they come, they work their 40 hours to get it. But if they're going to be worth more in the marketplace, if they're going to be worth more for you to pay them, then they've got to do some outside work. It's like school. You go to school, but then you have home fun or homework. They call it in school. We call it home fun. But, what is each individual's personal improvement plan? Now, I've got a form on that. If you'd like the form, just hit me up in the comments. I'm happy to give it to you. But listen, put the form, you don't need a form. What you need, you probably do need a form, and I'm happy to give you mine, but it's not a big deal. All it has on it is like, who are the, what are the things that they need to learn? What are the books they want to read? What are the videos they want to read? What are the audio books they want to read, or the podcasts they need to follow? Or who are the people they need to meet? What are the courses they need to take? Depending on your business, they may need, there may be some sort of continuing education that they need to get. Whatever it is, that just needs to be listed and planned and how that's all going to work in a year. What do they, and then it's a plan for them. They have their plan to improve themselves. And I've heard the argument before, like, what if we educate them? What if we train them and they go to work for somebody else? Well, yeah. What if they do? But what if you don't educate them and they stay with you, right? That's an old joke or adage or whatever, but it's true. If you have someone who's not getting better and they're staying with you, then that's not going to, eventually the business is going to outpace them. Part of what happens in building a team is as we raise the bar higher, some people choose to go to another team, right? As we get better. It's kind of like the NFL. They're always upgrading, always looking for better talent, always looking for better combination. Some people who were on the team last year can't be on the team this year. Is that good or bad? I'm not going to argue that. I don't like it, but at the end of the day, I don't like letting people go, but at the end of the day, if they're not going to be part of the team, if they're not going to be part of the future, then it probably is better for them and their family for them to be on a different team, that's more suited. I've actually had people who I've had to let go or fire. I've actually had people come back to me later and thank me and say, I really wasn't a good fit there, but I am in a good place now, and I love that. It makes me feel better. I love it because it is very emotional and very hard for some people to make that transition. Some people are just not good at transitions. So whatever you do, you've got to have a personal improvement plan. What's wrong with an employee saying, hey, I want to have my own business? Well, great. Why wouldn't you help them do that? Because guess what? As a business owner, if you're doing it right, you're going to have some extra funds to invest. And guess what? You may want to invest in their new business or in their business or help them or go be in partnership or have them buy your business or whatever it is. Why wouldn't you help them do that? You should have that open communication where they can be totally honest about their dreams and goals with you. So being totally honest, continuously improving, helping them to be better is good for everybody. It's good for them. It's good for your clients. It's good for your suppliers. It's good for the team. It's good for your business. It's good for your pocketbook. So just do it. So in a personal improvement plan, you're also going to have goals for the, what are the goals for the employee? Okay. And what are the KPIs? Some people in bigger companies call this OKRs, outcomes and key results. But it's the same thing. What is the outcome you want? And what is the key result or KPIs that are measurable? These have to be measurable. Okay? These need to be, numerical, some way to measure them. Either we did it or we didn't. Either we hit it or we didn't. And the point is not that we didn't hit it. The point is to have a discussion about how we can work together to help hit it. For example, if you don't have, let's say we say, all right, well, we want to have 20 meetings every month with potential employee prospects. Okay, that could be a KPI for the team, right? Okay, well, let's suppose we only get 16. Is that still a loss? Well, no, we've had 16 meetings, okay, that are good. Now, we came up 4 short. Great, let's talk about how do we get it to 20, not that we came up short. I hope that makes sense, because we want to continue to improve these things. We don't want to beat people up for not necessarily hitting them. Because a lot of times what I've found with goals is people make them too big or too small. They either achieve them really, way quickly, or they achieve them, or they don't achieve them, but they will if they give themselves enough time. So if they had a yearly goal and it takes them 14 months, okay, the time frame was wrong, the goal wasn't wrong. Does that make sense? The outcome that we wanted wasn't wrong. The time to get there was all that was wrong on the goal. All right, so you have to establish clear goals, clear KPIs, and everyone on the team should do this. Okay, they should have their own. Once the company has their goals and KPIs, then you can sort of cascade it down to your team. They can come up with their own, and you can discuss those in your weekly meeting with the individual partners. So, look, this has been a broad brush over the 7 keys. Let's go over them again. So the first one is strong leadership. Remember to work on yourself. Look in the mirror. If you're going to create a great team, you have to be getting better. If you're here, your team can only go here. From John Maxwell, Law of the Lid, you've got to continue to go up. Common goal. You need a vision that will enroll and inspire your team. If it doesn't, then you're going to have a hard time recruiting people to come along. Now, we can talk about the whole recruiting process and all that. That's another topic, and we can talk about how to recruit in our strategy session when we get together. Number 3, rules of the game. We've got to begin working on intentionally creating the culture we want to create to reach our goals. Number 4, we've got to have an action plan that takes into account the vision, the mission, the culture, and the leadership style that we have to get us to where we want to get to. Number 5, we've got to support risk taking. Number 6, we have to that's in decision making. Number 6, we want to have 100% involvement and inclusion. That's how do we involve the team? How do we help them create the 5 behaviors that are going to help us become the business and the team that we know we can be and achieve great things? Because we have to get everybody pulling in the same way. We can't have those 2 people rowing in the way or shooting holes in the bottom of the boat. And lastly, we have to create continuous education and improvement of our system, of your team. They've all got to be getting better. A rising tide does raise all boats. As we can raise the whole boat up, then we can achieve more. So if you look, I talked about these are broad strokes that apply to every business. The other piece of the puzzle, the second piece, is you're only going to have this halfway done if you don't book in for your strategy session. You're going to have epoxy glue that doesn't work. You're going to have part 1 that's just goo. Okay, you got to mix 2 of them together to create something more. All right, so part 1 of the epoxy glue is the overview of this. Watch the videos, take good notes. Part 2 is to book in for a strategy session. We can talk about your specific opportunities, your specific challenges. We can talk about where you want to go, where you are now, and how to build the team to help you get there, and how to create that commercial, profitable enterprise that can work without you. So all you have to do is book in for a strategy session. I've put it in the comment section of this. You can book in for that. If that doesn't work, or you have some kind of issue with it, or don't want to do it that way, and then all you need to do is put strategy in the comments below wherever you're looking at this video, and Beth and the team will get you set up for a meeting with me. So I look forward to seeing you on a meeting. It's Friday about 9:20. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to talking with you about building out your team. And until next time, or until we get to have our strategy session, all the best.